What is sexual abuse? Well, today that's the topic I just want to address with you guys. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about the types of sexual abuse. I'm also going to talk about the effects of sexual abuse and also about the victims of sexual abuse. And I'm also going to share on prevention of sexual abuse. But before I do that, you guys, let me just tell you a story. I like telling stories before I get into what I want to say. Well, when I was young, I had this friend, and this friend had this experience. Okay, my friend was staying with the sister, and the sister was married. It happened that there was this one day when my friend was sick. I think she had malaria and she couldn't go to school. So while she was sick, she was in her room, and around lunchtime, the brother-in-law came and he was trying to find out where she was, and he went into her bedroom and he found her very sick. Her temperature was so high, she was shivering, and then he asked her how she was doing, and she said that she was really not feeling okay. And then this man, you can imagine, an older man, pushed himself on somebody who was sick, you guys. And my friend was like 13 years old, and this man, I think, was like in his 40s, and he had to force himself on my friend. Anyway, he ended up abusing her sexually, and also afterwards, he took her to the clinic. Imagine, how foolish, he was. Anyway, he took her to the hospital. He explained to the doctors, and that was after raping her. Now, of course, the doctor didn't suspect anything, being the brother-in-law, so they just prescribed some medication and they took her home. My friend became so disturbed emotionally, and just to cut the story short, you guys, it ended up that my friend became pregnant because the same thing continued happening. The brother-in-law continued abusing her sexually, and afterwards she also got used. She was addicted. She could even go sometimes to him when the sister is not there, and just to tell him that I want to have sex with you. But this was a child, and that's how she even became pregnant. She had a son, and then the whole thing just became so terrible that even as I speak right now, my friend and the sister no longer talk, because when she discovered that this was what was happening, she blamed the sister instead, and then that was it. So in other ways, let me now say what I want to say. To me, that was sexual abuse, because this man forced himself on a younger child and forcing her to have sex. So in other ways, what is sexual abuse? Well, according to Google and what I researched, sexual abuse is also referred to as molestation. It's abusive sexual behavior by one person upon another. It is often penetrated using force or by taking advantage of another person. So they are different types of sexual abuse. There is spouse abuse, which involves a couple, for example, a husband and a wife. They are married. They can also be sexual abuse. And the other one, which is so common, involves children, and that's what we call child abuse. Now, what are the effects of sexual abuse, you guys? Of course, there are a lot of them. I'm sure you know some of them, but these are some of the things that I came up with. There's self-blame, especially for a person who has been a victim. Mostly they blame themselves. They say, maybe it's my fault, maybe I don't look good, or maybe there's a certain way that this person wants me to look like. I don't know, but mostly people blame themselves because of sexual abuse. And the other thing also, there's depression when somebody has been sexually abused. Mostly they become depressed. Like in the situation where I told you, imagine your brother-in-law forcing himself on you. I mean, you become depressed because you don't know how to tell your sister, you don't know how to tell your mother, because you feel like they're going to blame you, and you remain quiet, and that leads to depression. And there's also anxiety. People who are victims face anxiety in almost all areas of their lives, I can say. And also they become traumatized. They become traumatized, and they have got this post-traumatic stress disorder, which is so common when somebody has been sexually abused. And the other thing also, their self, they develop a low self-esteem because I think of the trauma. They don't feel confident about themselves, you know. Yeah, that's one of the things also, and it's very common. And the other thing also is they become suicidal. They just feel like, you know, what has happened to me, it's better I just die, it's better I just kill myself. Because, you know, sexual abuse, sometimes even big people like your father, they can also you know, abuse you sexually. And last but not the least, there's also the borderline personality disorder comes in, you guys. You know, these things are happening, we are seeing them, but I think we need to do something about them because it affects a lot of people out there, not only women, but even men. Men are being sexually abused, especially the young ones. But it's only that these things, when it comes to small boys, they are not really talked about it, but they do happen, and I have seen it as well in my life, you know. So now, let's talk about the victims now, the people who are vulnerable to sexual abuse. I can say mostly, like I said, young children. They are very vulnerable. They are the ones who are mostly attacked when it comes to sexual abuse. And there are also other people who are abused are the old people, like maybe in their 80 years old, you know, because people take advantage of them. They don't have the strength, you know, so they take advantage. But I'm not saying all the time, but it has been you know, discovered that actually the people who are old also, you know, they are very they are abused. And the other people also, those people who are people with disabilities, you know, maybe they don't have that power to defend themselves, you know, they are also vulnerable to, you know, such attacks. And also, you know, people who are poor, you know, sometimes poverty can make people become victims to sexual abuse, because what these people sometimes do, especially those who, with money, they can sexually abuse somebody, and they take advantage that that person won't report them to the police. Anyway, I just don't know the animal that's in man sometimes, you guys, but this thing has to stop, you know. It's a bad thing because it really affects somebody's life, you know. People end up dying because of a mistake that somebody did to them, you guys. So in other ways, now what I'm trying to say is, what can we do to prevent sexual abuse? What can we do as a country, as the world, as a parent, as a sister, as a brother? Because we are all, you know, connected. We are one, and we need to work together when it comes to such things, you guys. But I think, according to my own, you know, saying, I can say that once somebody has been abused sexually, I think it's very important. If you are a young man, a young boy, please report to the police. Don't be afraid, maybe it's your father or your mother, or maybe your cousin who has done it, your uncle. Don't be scared that maybe you're going to tarnish the name of the family, or maybe they are going to think you are a liar. Please do what is best for you, because it's your life and you have to take care of yourself, because this thing shall haunt you for the rest of your life. You'll never be the same. So if you have been abused sexually, I'm trying to say here that that, please report to the nearest police station. Or if you can't do that, tell somebody you trust, so that those people can at least put justice to these people, because these things will keep on happening if we are not acting on them, you guys. Sexual abuse really is not a very good thing, and we just have to put our foot down and act on it. I know a lot of government, a lot of countries are dealing with the situation, but I think we need to do more. And the other thing also I think we can do to prevent it is to, as parents, I think we need to tell our children, we need to tell them that when somebody touches you in a certain way, please tell your mother or tell your dad or tell anyone. And you know what I've always been telling my children, I've been telling them that, you know, don't trust anyone. You girls, don't trust even your dad. You know, I know you can't do that, but I mean, I've mentioned it to them, saying that, you know, sometimes you don't know the animal that is in men. Sometimes they don't think and they just do things. They've got maybe their own issues, they've got their own disorders, and they end up doing these things to small kids. So what I'm saying here, as parents, let's make sure that our children are aware of what goes on. Let's educate them on sexual abuse, so that when they see such a thing, when they see somebody touching them on their private part, they can easily tell you. Because these abusers, sometimes what they do, they go stage by stage. Sometimes they just start touching their breasts, like the girl child. They start by touching their breasts. They advance, they're holding their hands in a romantic way. They start kissing them. You know, they like prepare them. You know, this is, you know, so bad, because these days, you know, there's HIV and AIDS and any other sexual related, you know, diseases they can get, and they are young people. So I think that's what, you know, needs to be done on the parent side. And then on the government part, I think, you know, opening up these educational institutions where they can teach about sexual abuse, which I think in other parts of the country, Zambia, they are doing that, and they also around the world they are doing that, which is good. But I think we need to encourage our children and to let them attend these institutions, so that they can learn such things, you guys. Otherwise, it's sad. It's sad. But I think when we work together as a family, as one, we can, you know, overcome these things, because these things are real, they are happening, and we are just ignoring them. Sometimes in the family, they just say traditionally, you know, our family will be tarnished. So I think sometimes we just have to put our foot down. If it's the father who is doing it, if it's the uncle, if it's the cousin, let's just face it, so that those people may, you know, be at least, you know, be dealt with, because it's not a good thing. So I just thought of sharing this with you guys. The rest is up to you. So if you're watching me for the first time, I can say that you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Clara Chips Show, a show where I share my life experience, the things that I'm learning in my own life, and also the things that I'm learning in other people's lives. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, you guys. So I'll see you in my next video, you guys. I love you so much, and remember to love yourselves, because there is no other person who can love you apart from you loving yourself first. So bye bye. Mwah.